Hey, welcome back everybody. You're listening to Ultimate Affiliate Marketing. I am your host as always. It's Paul Motley here. And today, long overdue, we're going to talk about SEO because I've talked about loads of different things on the podcast, as you know, if you listen daily. But SEO is one of the things that I specifically don't know an awful lot around, a lot about. So I've got someone on. I've got an expert here. John Vuong, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Paul. I'm excited.
That's cool, man. That's cool. So for anyone that doesn't know, and this is probably the bog standard question on any podcast you've ever been on, just tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started and where you're at now.
Yeah, definitely. So I started my journey in terms of starting an SEO agency 7 years ago. Prior to that, I dabbled into traditional media, advertising sales, as well as affiliate online marketing sales. So I worked for a performance online marketing company, dabbled in that. And then I worked at Yellow Pages, which was traditionally the go-to place for a lot of small, medium-sized business owners in terms of advertising choice.
So just so we know, because over in the UK, we have Yellow Pages. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Canada.
You're in Canada, and I understand in the States, they call it the White Pages. Is that right?
So Yellow Pages, Yellow Book, there's a lot of different variations. White Pages is the back, alphabetical. Yeah. But Yellow Pages is category driven, very similar to how Google kind of replaced it.
Right. Got it. Yeah. Excellent. Please. Yeah. Carry on. Just to getting that thing out there, because obviously some people perhaps won't know what that is, but it was primarily a space for businesses to advertise in. Is that right? Yeah.
That's correct. So 15 years ago, I dabbled into the affiliate marketing space before the internet really took off, right? Where Google then kind of replaced, as well as email and social, etc. But for me, it was all about just connecting and forming really good, strong relationships. And I think that's the biggest bond in terms of any kind of business that you're running, because if they trust you, they want to actually personally want to work with you or like you, then they're going to move ahead. So that's why I started this agency. While working at Yellow Pages, I work with thousands of local business owners, and I got to really know what really triggers them in terms of what their needs and desires are, and I filled that gap.
Excellent, man. That sounds really cool. Now, what would you say? Because I mean, again, as affiliate marketers, we're always looking at ways to drive traffic, and there's always this thing. There's paid versus organic, and organic can mean so many different things. And we can talk about being on social media platforms, Facebook groups, messenger bots, email, all this sort of good stuff. But a lot of times people miss out their own website and SEO. So, that is a huge, great big playing field for them to get into. What do you think the biggest advantage is for people going an SEO route rather than going for things like social media platforms or paid ads?
I think it's the quality of and type of clients or users that you're going to attract, because Google drives the most amount of traffic, people that are intent at doing research or finding information themselves because they're in control, as opposed to ads where you're pushed ads at people, right? Yes, you can cater towards the messaging and content piece, but when people are in control, the likelihood for them to follow through with a newsletter drip or reading a guide or information is way more intentful, and the quality is there. So I always focus at SEO for small, medium-sized business owners, because that's what's going to drive the best return on investment, which would trigger actual revenue and sales. In terms of for affiliates, it's also about generating really good content pieces, ranking very high on Google, so that you will drive a lot more visibility, traffic, in hopes that they will, give you your email address or some sort of like information so that you can drip them further.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. And for anyone that's wondering what the background noise is, we've got some construction going on across the road. And today's the day the street cleaner decides to go up and down the road 15 times. So apologies if you're getting some background noise on that. It's just part of the course around here, I tell you. So obviously we're talking, you think that, like you said, it's intent really with SEO stuff, but SEO seems such a vast skill set and a vast thing to try and learn to do. Is it still accessible for the beginner to get any results, or do you really have to niche down on it and become extremely skilled to get the results?
Yeah, there's two folds, right? SEO is a long-term game. So if you're in an affiliate game, you're always looking for newest, hottest topic and sellable product, right? If it is
Yeah.
a product or service, right? So you're always jumping around, and then you're competing with price typically because it's a volume kind of game, right? But if you're going near, and that's why I focus on services typically for SEO, because it's usually a higher ticket item. It takes a long time, but then you're positioned as an expert or a thought leader, an authoritative figure, right? So SEO is all about driving traffic, but you need to be really that go-to industry expert, right? Because
Right.
Google will only deliver good results for people like the users, which they want those users to continue coming back if they get the best results for that given search query. So you need to be the best website for that given search query. Yes, authority matters. So there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of things that you need to ensure, like content, compelling, you as a thought leader, authentic, but also links, as well as, technical background. There's a lot of variables, and it's a lot harder to rank than playing with ads, because it's a pay to play game with ads or buying a list. But when you start building your own list through SEO or creating good content and guides, the quality is a little bit different.
Oh, cool, man. That's blown my mind straight away, because I remember back in the day when I owned my own bricks and mortar business, and we had to suddenly go online because, we advertised in places like Yellow Pages, local publications, all print. And suddenly the internet came along and people started getting websites. And I don't know if you remember something called Front Page from Microsoft. Do you remember that? That was fun. And then started dabbling with Dreamweaver, which was incredibly difficult and even more of a headache. But do you think it's easy for people to get websites online now? I mean, what would be the best way for someone to go about getting a website?
So a lot of people are just moving towards like a Wix or a Shopify or anything that's very easy in terms of plug and play, right? Like any WordPress, Joomla site, you can just input all the information, plug it in. And there's a lot of plugins like a Yoast or All-in-One that has some SEO simple features where you can then put like on-page title tag, description, internal links, URLs, etc. Right? So that's the first thing you should do, right? Make sure that your website has some good, proper tagging. But I think the most important thing, and a lot of people forget, is creating compelling content that actually delivers information to your ideal customers, right? And a lot of people forget that you're selling products or services, but you need to figure out who that ideal customer is ultimately, right? Like that profile, the persona, the traits, right? And I know you do that mainly for funnels. Like if you have an email campaign, you kind of group them together on age or hobbies or interests or whatever. You pool them together, right? Very similar, but for content piece or your website, you have to have an overarching long-term strategy, because that's the first and central place of where people go to, right? And then you can funnel it appropriately based on what the services you're offering, right? What kind of client you're going to try to target for these landing pages, etc. But it's a lot more in depth, I would say, but it's much more rewarding to do, because once you start owning that real estate on Google, like first page, you're going to get so much more traffic, especially once you are that thought leader or authoritative figure.
Well, it certainly sounds like fun and a challenge all rolled into one, for sure. I was tripping over myself then, because I was thinking about so many different questions that I could ask you, but I didn't want to get too technical. But if someone's got, let's say, I mean, obviously you're saying like doing SEO is kind of like a long-term thing, isn't it? But once you get those rankings, then normally you should be able to keep them for a reasonable amount of time. Let's say someone was just starting out, they got a website, they put it out there. How are they going to get people or Google, for example, to find it in the first place? Do they have to like submit it places, or how does all that work anyway?
Yeah, so set up your Google Search Console, set up your Google Analytics so you can track what's going on. And then, of course, start creating content and owning your assets, right? So owning that brand name, owning your company name on all social media platforms, all citations and directories, and start producing good content and letting people amplify that message so that Google recognizes that you're a real legit business, right? And the more they feel like you're actually doing good and you're serving a purpose and there's a need and demand for it, then you'll slowly start being recognized by Google. And ultimately, then you're going to get more backlinks. Other people will then recognize you and you're going to be speaking and a thought leader for that, whatever product or service or brand, because they want credibility. They want to know that you're actually in it for the good and not short term.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. I mean, it's interesting that you're talking about becoming like the leader and authoritative and everything else like that, because there's so many people out there right now trying to conquer like the Facebook algorithm. But I was literally speaking to someone yesterday where he was exhausted. You know, he was getting like a couple of hundred comments on his Facebook post every time he posted, but he said it was exhausting. He was spending like 3 or 4 hours a day on Facebook just to try and get that sort of reach in the first place. And he said, I just can't do it anymore. It's becoming incredibly difficult because once you've posted, it tends to kind of disappear. It's gone, you know. It's like Instagram, you know, you fire up Instagram, you get like a bunch of stuff in front of you. You go back another 5 minutes, it's all changed again. It's there and it's not. It's kind of like a flash in the pan almost. Whereas I look at SEO and think that's something that you could build and you're getting that authority because you are getting that evergreen content out there as well. So, I mean, it's got to be an eye opener. And I think a lot of people are probably missing out because they're spending so much time trying to beat the system in the areas where if they want to go organic, like I say, if they don't have the funds to pay for ads, then, you know, maybe they should look at having their own site and doing SEO as a difference, right? I mean, I don't know. Am I off the mark or what?
You hit it bang on, because a lot of people are short-minded, short-term, and they look at social media like, I need a tweet and I need these shares and likes and comments. Same with Facebook, right? It's all about like self-gratification, immediate, but are they your ideal tribe or customers, right? Because ultimately what it boils down to as a business owner is, I don't care how much traffic or impressions I get, how much revenue and sales am I producing from whatever the efforts I'm making, right? And that's what I help out with in terms of like SEO focus, because if you look at quality conversion rate optimization or conversion rate, like type of clients that you get, right? Top funnel versus end of the line funnel, right? And people who are ready to buy are what we deliver through SEO. Because if you know the difference between paid ads and organic, people in control versus people that are push ads at them, they'd rather be in control, right?
Yeah.
And if you know anything about yellow pages and, you know, paid ads in terms of traditional newspaper, flyer, magazine, trade shows, radio, television versus yellow pages, it was more once they're ready to buy, they pick up that phone directory, right? Now Google kind of replaced it. If they're ready to buy, they're gonna Google in that search result or a query. If they don't find what they're looking for, they're gonna refine it even to a longer tail keywords and get what they're looking for, versus a paid ad at the top of Google or social media post ads or Instagram ads or LinkedIn ads. It's like pushing people at things that they're not really wanting, right? Interrupting them at that frame of mind versus they're in control and wanting to buy something, right? So Amazon's been like a great platform where you are ready to shop and then you're just trying to get them in to sway
Oh,
behavior.
He's still there. I thought we lost you then, John. Are you still there, mate?
To get them to buy something else, right? So
Gotcha. I mean, the best example that I was given once was that, you know, if someone has a massively painful toothache, they don't go on Facebook to go and find a solution for it. They're going to go and search for the nearest place that's going to be able to help them. In most places, that's going to be, like you say, the yellow pages. If they've got it printed next to them, they're going to look up emergency dentist, or they're going to look up emergency dentist on the search engine. And I think that is kind of like where the whole SEO thing comes into play, because if you're not showing up there, then they go somewhere else. Whereas like with Facebook, and specifically with Facebook ads, even with the organic stuff, we're still interrupting people during the day. That the people that are scroll through their feeds, they are happen to be looking through what we're doing and trying to get content and value from what we're posting out. The ads are sitting there in between, trying to interrupt us while we're doing that, to pull us over to what they're doing. But you know, it's a crazy world out there. So if someone was to start straight away today, is there sort of like an average period that they could expect before they start seeing decent traffic?
So it all depends on industry. It all depends on competition and what kind of terms that you're trying to attract, right? So I deal with a lot of localized service base, like the dentists, plumbers, lawyers, etc. But if you are an affiliate and you want to, you know, get 10 points on every sale on, say, a niche, say bedding, for instance, mattress, right? My suggestion is create a portal, like a bedding kind of website with comparison shopping, a review site, or some sort of thing that actually provides value, something that customers are actually wanting to read, comparison based on reviews and honest opinion, right? Then start positioning yourself as a leader, an expert in that industry, right? And then you slowly start increasing your ranking, because what you're going to find is a lot of people are interested in reading an unbiased forum-like content piece or blog or review site that hopefully then you can plug in some affiliate links and you're going to generate some, you know, some sales from it. Or if it's just, you know, traffic that you're after, impressions or whatever. But it takes time, right? Like doing in-depth research, but then being honest in terms of that niche and the different sites that you're comparing with, right? That's ultimately what I would suggest.
That's cool. And I was just thinking about a way that people could use it, especially in like the internet marketing or affiliate marketing, where we're always talking about building a list and following up the list. And one of the things that you need tools, basically. You need to go buy software. You have apps and tools and stuff, and like email service providers or email automation providers and things like that. So if someone's listening out there, a good example, perhaps, I mean, John, you're going to pull me up on this one for sure, would be if you maybe created a comparison or a site which specifically dealt with email marketing platforms and did straight comparisons between them, but also then included a way to capture the emails of people by offering out, you know, either done for you guides or how-to guides or help videos, or even templates of automations that, like the best one I can think of is Active Campaign. You can just share a follow-up sequence via a URL. So all these things can then help you build your own email list. And I'm guessing, I don't know, am I off the mark here or what?
That's exactly what it is all about, right? Because what you're trying to do is own your own list, right? And not only do you want to create good content, make sure that it's geared towards the customer, but then you got to own the list with a drip campaign afterwards, right? By email or any other form of retargeting ads or whatever it may be. Because once you own information or data, then you can monetize afterwards, right? By providing good value. And the big thing is making sure that you're giving them content or pieces and grouping them together with the right kind of information that you want them to know and want them to see, right? Because they've already expressed interest on email. So anything related to email, then you can offer that up.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. Hopefully it's given people some idea on what they can and can't do. And the magic and the mystery of the SEO world has been debunked a little bit today anyway. But for anyone listening, yeah, I would highly recommend getting into doing some sort of SEO and getting your sites up and that. Speaking of all this, John, I mean, if someone wanted to, where would they find you and what you do and the services that you can provide?
Yeah, definitely. So we focus on primarily just SEO, but we
Yep.
have a lot of experience doing a lot of different things. You can check out our website. It's called www.localseosearch.ca. We focus on small, medium-sized businesses, service-based, typically on SEO. And we're full service, from content to link building to technical, on-page, you name it, to really just drive SEO traffic, which is organic traffic through SERPs,
Awesome,
search engine results.
So that's kind of like you offer it all the way up to a complete done for you service, which I think a lot of people would be interested in for sure. John, it's been awesome having you on, man. I've enjoyed it. It's always good when you're getting some sort of interaction going on. So once again, I'm going to include that link in the show notes. So make sure you go and check that out. But for now, John, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks a lot, Paul. It was fun.